I think that some of the newer agents, they feel like they need to know everything before they can actually start producing. I don't think that's the right mentality. I think people just have to get out and make contact with people. A lot of them are not willing to do that. Late nights, staying out, getting in front of people. I think that's important.
Welcome to the Real Estate Is Show. I've got Gavin Higashi. Did I pronounce that right?
It's perfect.
He is the best golfer that I know.
Oh, gosh.
The best friend that is a title partner that I know. This is an amazing guest. I'm super excited. And what's cool about it is on the Real Estate Is Show, we mostly have top agents. And very rarely do we pull in a title company or a mortgage company on the show. So I think you might be the first title agent. So Gavin, I don't know your story a ton. I know we're actually pretty good friends, but
yeah.
So you're in Denver, you're out of Denver. Have you always been in Denver? Are you a Denver boy?
Yeah, born and raised, man, native.
Really?
Yeah, my parents are both from Hawaii. They both went to school in Colorado and met in Colorado, and then they never left. So yeah, my brother and I were both born and raised in Arvada.
Yeah. So one thing that I think really sets you apart from the outside looking in is how much you really care about the people you work with.
Yeah.
Right. Where does that, I'm going to get a little bit into your past a little bit, but
yeah,
where does that drive from? Like what this desire, like I don't see you as a transactional person in relationships. There are transactional relationships that we're just business friends.
Sure.
And then there's like, I actually care about you and I care about your business.
Yeah. I mean, I think any business, right? The most successful relationships are built on a solid foundation. And I've always felt like, and that's marriage or kids or whatever, like the stronger the foundation, the better the long-term stability of that relationship. So I usually go with the clients that I'm the closest with, I usually go really deep and I do care. I mean, I think that comes from my mom and my dad too, but specifically my mom. My mom's always been big on hospitality. That's
a Hawaiian culture thing, right?
Totally, man.
I mean, that whole culture is revolved around family and food, friends.
Family and laughing and stories. I grew up with that, man. So like,
where does the work ethic side come from?
My grandfather specifically. I mean, I'm third generation Japanese American. So I'm Japanese, Hawaiian, and English. So my dad is Japanese, and my grandfather and my great grandfather worked on the plantations in Hawaii. And I mean that, if you've never seen it, I mean, it's awful. Like the conditions were awful. They basically worked for like 25 cents a day. And then they'd go buy food or whatever else from the general store. Well, the general store was owned by whoever owned all the plantations, right? So you'd make 25 cents a day, but then
give them the money right back.
35 cents. So then you'd have IOUs and you have all this, you'd be in debt to the plantation or the plantation.
It's an interesting form of slavery. It's a strong word.
It is,
but it's a way of reducing freedom is the best way of saying that.
For sure, man. And I mean, my dad grew up in a house with like 5 or 6 of them and this little house and this plantation in Hawaii. It's crazy. So I've gotten to go back there and see it.
I know you make decent money for a title rep, like because your work ethic and you care, but it sounds like you're kind of the first generation to actually start making money. Does that sound about right?
No, not at all. I mean, I just think like back to my grandfather, he was just so smart. Like he put 5 kids through college, figured it out by either investing or however he figured out how to make his money.
He got out of that whole.
He got it. Yeah. I mean, when they came to the United States, they just found a way to work and save and build. And so, I mean, that's my work ethic comes from that. Just like straight up, like they sacrificed so much to like just get us into this country and build our family. And like, I always talk about that. Like, I don't ever want to let them down for the sacrifices that they've made to get me to where I'm at. Right. So like, we just got to keep building generation after generation. You build on top of that each generation.
Did your parents push education really strong?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, it's interesting. The Asian culture tends to push education strong. We have a friend who's Hungarian and she grew up in a communist country. I mean, Hungary was a communist country for half of her life.
Oh, wow.
So with her son, I mean, we're on vacation and just relaxing as a family, our family and their family. And she's like, oh, my son for 2 hours has to study. And we're like, we're on vacation. He's like sitting there doing cards. And my other son's like, my son's like, wait, why is he studying? We're on vacation. Like, does that make sense? But, we got into the depths of it, and her reasoning is, having that communist or that lack of freedom taken away from me, which again, with your experience with the thing, it necessarily wasn't communist, but it was stealing freedom from me. The way to never have that happen to me again is to be very educated. So if I can educate my kids, nobody could restrict them, or it's an interesting, I think that's where some of that culture comes from.
Sure.
I don't know. Did you get an education? Did your parents push you towards that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they just wanted us to go to college, stick with it. I tried to drop out of college immediately. I hated it. But my mom was like, no, you got to just get it done. And I'm in hindsight, I'm grateful that I did that.
What'd you study?
Business, marketing.
Do you feel like it adds any value to your life? Your education?
No.
I studied accounting, and I'm not sure how much value really added, but I'll tell you my experience, Gavin. I'm curious if you had a similar experience. I always wanted to be some level of an entrepreneur, but I was too immature to do it at that age. And I needed college to mature me. And it forced me to study and to focus on things. Yeah. I think it's good for some kids from that perspective.
I think the structure of it is really important. I think that as an employer, we're looking at people now, if you see people that went through college and got a degree, it's like they can check that box. They put the work in to get their degree. Yeah. But yeah, man, the actual long-term value of it, I don't really see that it's there. And actually my oldest son, who's 21, he did a little bit of, he's not good at school. And I think cause I just don't push him. I don't force him.
Interesting. So that got out of the culture of your family.
Yeah. And I think cause when I was a kid, I just wanted my parents to be like, go do what you want to do and go find what makes you happy. Right. So that's what I'm trying to do with him.
How's that working?
It's going well, man. He's actually, he had a really good job, and now he just got another job, and just moving up pretty quick and finding his way. And I just keep telling him, dude, just keep learning, go try all the different industries, go whatever, anyone that gives you a job and gives you an opportunity, just go do it. And
be the best at that.
Yeah. See if that's the right fit. Right. And I mean, I'm so grateful for this industry and Tidal specifically. I just got into it.
How long have you been doing it?
I've been in Tidal for about 25 years. And then I was in real estate for 2 when I was 18.
Going back to top agents, and a lot of top agents watch this show. What sets apart a top agent from a non-top agent? Where is that line? It's interesting asking somebody from a third party that gets to be involved in people's businesses to say really what sets these people apart?
It's crazy because I've seen both sides. I've seen people that are really successful just because they relate and connect. But I've also seen people that are really successful because they're systematic and consistent. And I think it pulls from both sides, right? So if you look at some the more successful teams, they have one of each, right? So they have the kind of the people person that's drawing in all the relationships and building all those deep ties. And then they have the other systematic person that's watching the numbers, making sure that they're hitting all their goals and doing all the right activity. And so I think you can be successful either way. But the ones that have been the most successful have found balance and having both.
What about the ones that aren't successful that are trying? What is it that they're missing, do you think, other than a good title rep like yourself?
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's a really good point. They have to have a good title. Just kidding. I think that, you kind of joke about it, right? But you do have to have really good resources. You have to have good connections and good people that are going to help you kind of go through the process. So just you and your services and just even the conversations you and I have, or if I just get to watch you present, or I learn from all of that, right? So I think that some of the newer agents, they feel like they need to know everything before they can actually start producing. And I don't think that's the right mentality. I think it's a contact sport, right? So people just have to get out and make contact with people. And a lot of them are not willing to do that. So, late nights, staying out, getting in front of people, I think that's important. Hitting the phones.
It's so interesting you say that. And going back to the personality things, if I could tie these together, I had Mike Mizuko, who's one of our agents on, and he was a rocket scientist engineer. Yeah. He worked for Atheon or Raytheon or whatever that big company is. I don't even know. And Boeing. And he left that industry to become a full-time realtor.
Crazy.
I mean, straight up engineer, very low I on the disc level.
Yeah.
Right. And I was amazed. I mean, he's doing like 70 to 100 transactions a year. I mean, it's decent.
Yeah.
He's been able, like the processes, he's been able to figure it out. I heard this thing with my kids play soccer, and I watched this video on their Instagram thing the other day, and it says something like being obsessed with your sport will get you farther than talent. Talent will only take you so far.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's very true in real estate.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Anything, right? Like you got to be the master of your craft. If you want to be, I guess I go back to my son, right? I tell him that all the time. I was like, you're going to find what you want to master because you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
The moment you like enjoy that craft, you're just going to dig into it and really find love in it. I had when I was at Red Rocks Community College, I think he was a psychology professor, and he said, you know, like, how do you actually show that you love someone or something? You're continually learning about it, and you're continually like giving back to it, right? So if that, again, relationships, parenting, whatever, the more you pour into something and the more you want to keep learning about that shows your love for it. And I think the same is for your job or your profession or your relationships or anything. You got to pour into it.
You got to be coachable. You got to be willing to, you know, find good partners in the industry, whether it's a mentor, a good brokerage, a good team, a good title partner, a good mortgage partner. I mean, you got to build your team.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many players, you know, a good photography partner, obviously, but there's so many players that support your business. Let's dive into the title business for a little bit. What have you seen the realtors that work really successfully with you? And I'm not, let's be honest. If somebody's doing 100 transactions a year, you're probably responsible for 10, 20, 30% of their business. You're not going to like, I can double, triple your business tomorrow, right? Like, but there are tools that you have that will help them make a jump. What have you seen the most successful relationships be with you?
Yeah.
Versus the ones that don't work out as well? Like what's missing? Where's the gap?
That's a really good question. Well, as far as where it works the best is the ones that realize the value that we bring, and the value that I bring is literally my one experience in the industry. Like I just know how to work inside of my company to help benefit them and their client, right? So like if there's losses or something comes up or there's something holding them from closing, that's where
title issues,
any kind of dispute or whatever, that's where we tend to be the best, is actually getting those things to close, getting those deals to close. And really the biggest success that I've had in my career is just the ability to try to attract and recruit really good talent, specifically closers. So if I can get a really good closer that connects really well with the agent, and that agent feels like they're a part of their team, and I can only control that piece. I can only control the closer and title piece of it.
Yeah.
I can't control all the other stuff that the agent chooses to do in their business. I can only control what we have and our responsibility. So I think because of that, the focus has just been on that piece, the service piece of it and the support piece for the agent. That's where I have the best relationships.
It's interesting because I think every agent's different, and I want to hit both sides of this.
Yeah.
But I had a title rep for years that got assigned to my account, and it was almost like assigned to my account because I was using this title company because of the closer. Really liked the closer. Like she would go above and beyond to go to bat for me.
Yeah.
But the like marketing title rep, sales rep that was assigned to me would show up once a month with cupcakes and cookies.
Right.
And at some point I remember getting a hold of his manager, and I was like, hey, Michelle, I don't need cupcakes and cookies. Like, stop sending them to my office.
Yeah.
I need value. I need, and new title companies would come and try to get my business. Yeah. And I would say, I need access to people that can make decisions when there's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't want to get on the phone with someone and they say, I have to talk to somebody else. I want to talk to the person that is making the decision. Yeah. I'm actually okay with a no answer. I'm okay with a maybe, or I'm okay with, okay, I hear you. Let me work on it and get back to you.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily need a yes every time I call you.
Right.
But I need somebody that doesn't say, I have to check with someone else.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the middleman game. I think that's what you do for your clients is you get the right people on the phone and solve the problem right then and there.
100%.
It's speed.
That's literally how I build my business is if if I can kind of analyze what the agent needs and what the agent is asking for their client and why they're asking for it, then I know how to package it to take it to Brandon or Leanne or whoever to get the answer, right? Like I know who to go to in title to like get the right answer. So I guess I kind of am a middleman in that sense, but I'm really just trying to interpret it so that it's the correct result for the agent.
You go to bat for your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm advocating for them constantly. I sell to that. Like I'm an internal advocate inside of our organization.
It's funny because I try to tell my customer service reps to do that. You don't necessarily represent Rocket Lister. You represent the customer.
Yep.
You are going to bat for the customer to try to get what they want done with management. And, I think that when customers feel that you are their advocate to try to get something done, it's huge. And honestly, I bet there are times when the answer is no, and they're happy that you worked your butt off to try to get it done.
Like there's always options. So unfortunately, we can't do this because of this, and this. Yeah. But we could do this to get the same result, right?
Interesting.
Or similar.
So that's one bucket. Another bucket that I know a lot of agents want from title reps is like data and value. And how does you or Chicago Title fill that bucket? Because there are agents out there that they don't just want this. They also want a bucket of, okay, get me data, get me value. Like how do you work with agents in that way?
I think our industry is good at having a lot of stuff, and some of the newer reps and even some of the experienced reps, they kind of like show up and throw up. Right. I'm really focused on. I try to like listen and find out where their biggest hurdle is. So if they're like
pain points, right?
Yeah, we want to try to get more listings. All right, cool. Let's look at Title Toolbox and let's see if we can try and find ways to use Title Toolbox to pull some data that might help you target specific potential listings, and we can do all of that stuff. I guess using the tools we have to figure out how to best benefit the agent is I'm thinking about. But to me, that stuff is all it's all secondary. Like that stuff is secondary. Yes, we have that. Yes, we want to support the agents with those pieces. But again, my responsibility is making sure that we have the right closers.
Well, I think that definitely comes from experience for you, right? Because I think probably some of the newer title reps get so laser focused on one thing and forget that without that, going back to that word foundation you said earlier, that relationship you use as a foundation. Do you work with one closer or multiple?
Multiple. Okay. So in the Westminster office that I'm kind of focused on building, we have 3 closers in there right now. I'm working on a couple more in different offices, or I have a couple closers in Fort Collins I work with. I have closers in Denver I work with, Cherry Creek.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's get into a more fun subject.
Yeah.
So
boring.
you have you have agents that I want to really get your opinion on without naming names. We both know people that are building downlines in their Real or EXP business, or maybe Keller Williams. We know people that are building teams and trying to add people to their team. We know people that are trying to build brokerages. All of that revolves around certain principles of marketing and sales to agents. You as a title rep are trying to find more agents. Like in those 3 scenarios, all 3 people are really trying to recruit, in some sense, agents to work with them. What have you seen be the most successful way for you and other people? What advice do you have for people listening that want to build relationships with agents in some sort of way?
The ones that I see doing well with recruiting are visible, and they are a resource. They're not like trying to get business. They're just doing their thing. They're just visible. They're present and providing value for basically for free, right? Like Gary Vee says all the time, you got to work for free before you actually get the value of those relationships. And so
what are some examples of who you've seen do it well? For the people watching, I'm more interested in the tactics. Like I want to get really specific on like things that people could take away from this and actually do.
People want to be around energy, and they want to be around people that are successful, and they want to be around people that are growing. So if you're growing and you're moving forward, and if you're the leader of that group and you're showing that growth, that attracts.
And that's hard for people because you start to feel a little bit of like arrogance sometimes if you're putting that out on social media.
Yeah. And I think that could be misconstrued.
It 100% is. I'll just tell you a quick story. I lost a client the other day from Rocket Lister, and as of right now, when we're in this interview, by the time this interview comes out, this podcast will be fully live. But as of that moment when we lost the customer, we hadn't released the full podcast yet. And all I had done is release like 10 different shorts of like 30 seconds of little tad bits on our webpage.
Okay.
And she left us because we had this intolerable podcast that was so ridiculously bad. And at the end of the day, she was upset that, we're putting ourselves out there but you'll get haters when you do it. And you just can't let that discourage you. And it's just when you put content out, you get haters. And there is a subset of people out there that do not like to see other people be successful. And when you're putting content out, there's this perception that you're successful. Whether you are or not, people perceive, right, the nice podcast studio, whatever. But going back to agents, the advice I'm hearing you is don't be afraid to throw it out there that you're growing and that there's energy and that there's cool culture and that you're doing cool things.
Yeah. And I think if you have any concern with this podcast or anything else, like if you have any concern of how it's going to affect other people, then it's definitely not going to be successful.
Yeah.
You have to just do it because you believe in it. You want to do it. Yeah. Who cares if they like it or not? And maybe you someday like stop doing the podcast. Like I used to do these interviews on Facebook and I loved doing it. I think I got to like 90 something. Mm-hmm. Then I stopped doing them. I just wasn't in the headspace anymore to continue to do them. But at the time, I found so much value in it because it helped me so much stay on track and stay motivated and push. And I was kind of pulling from these other people that I was meeting with, and I really enjoyed doing them.
Yeah.
But I definitely got people that hated on it, but who cares? I did not care.
It just it's part of the game, but it's good for people that are going to start doing more of it. And they're like, yeah, I really need to take Gavin's advice and go out there and put my name out there more. You will get some haters. It will happen. So you are on the Real Estate Is show. Have you thought about what real estate is to Gavin?
Yeah, man. It's relationships, man. It's my community. It's my relationships.
That fits your personality really well. You have some very deep relationships with some of your customers.
It's genuine, right? Like, hey, I'm happy to help. I'll do anything I can to support you. But if we don't click, that's never going to happen, right? So it has to click. And then you want to have more and more relationships like that. Mm-hmm. You want to work with people you want to work with. You want to be around people you want to be around, right? Yeah. So I've been very lucky that I've got really great clients, really great leadership and staff in Chicago too, that I'm just close with. And
I think that's part. I mean, one thing I've learned from our relationship in working with you and the other title reps that I worked with is, and this is for any vendor partner or any agent that's looking to like really leverage relationships from you guys, right? Like, hey, how could you help me build my team?
Sure.
This is the best advice I think I could give anybody in working together with somebody is a partnership. When you consider somebody a partner, it is a two-way street.
If I'm pouring time and energy into someone and I'm not getting deals or business out of it, like that sounds so matter of fact, but the reality is if you're not getting that reciprocation, which I need so I can provide for my family and provide for all these people that work for us, their families, if I'm not getting that business, then why am I spending our dollars and our time on that relationship? If there's no reciprocation. And,
I want to challenge agents that have title partners to think about ways to give value to your title partner more than just giving them business. And I know that's a huge thing. And that's what, at the end of the day, that's really what you want. Mm-hmm. But just ways of, I think about it. I meet new agents and I'm like, hey, have you met Gavin?
Yeah. Thank you.
Referring you business. And it's just agents can do that with their title partners, not necessarily you, but whoever they're working with is if you're thinking about how you can support your partners, they will pour back into you tenfold.
1000%. And it's crazy how little that happens, right? Because it doesn't happen very often, it's super memorable, right? Or even if I have a relationship with an agent, the deepest relationships I have are based off of something I've done or in the past to support them, right? Or just to give to them. That's not title related or industry related, just something about them. No one else does that. No other title reps do that. They just show up and are like, send me orders or, I'm doing this for you, so send me this. Like there's
I've got a sales rep in the other room and he's very transactional and he's not a natural relationship person, so he struggles with this.
Yeah.
But he feels like if I go present and give you some value in my presentation, I should then get all your business. And life just doesn't work like that.
I
Right?
agree.
It just doesn't. You don't present once and then all of a sudden, why are people not signing up with me? What's going on?
I don't know if I've ever had it where I've presented and just got business. I don't think I've ever had that happen. Like maybe one-off things, but the majority of
There's a follow-up game there. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, man. This is awesome. We're lucky to have you in Denver. And I want more and more agents to kind of get to know your product. And when we all see your videos, and I just had a client ask me the other day, like, okay, reintroduce me to Rocket Lister again. I see all these videos and I see everyone talking about it. Like, I want to get reintroduced to it, man. So you're growing very quick. You're building the right relationships, man. And I just appreciate that I get to be a part of it.